Hello everyone, welcome to the Sage Job Quest story. Compared to the last video, there really isn't much to say at the beginning, so let's just start right away. There may be spoilers ahead for Heavensward and Endwalker, so you have been warned. Let us start this video by asking the same question we always do. What is a sage? This question can be answered plainly by repeating Lalah Jinjahl's words. We are unfamiliar of her as of now, but she is an important figurehead in the quest we are about to embark on, so I won't go into too much detail as to who she is. To quote her exact words, "To begin at the beginning, our revered ancestor, Nyankrep, advocated the betterment of mankind, and 'twas in accordance with this tenet that summonotics, the sage's art, was created by combining the wisdom of medicine, aetherology, and sorcery. Through medicine, a sage can grasp the works of the flesh. Through aetherology, he unlocks the secrets of the soul. And finally, through sorcery, he learns to manipulate the two. In order to channel his power, a sage employs a set of 4 short staves called noliths. These instruments have their origins in adderstones, which are naturally occurring objects of power, which harbor spiritual energy. They were used by healers of Eld. These stones were placed around the sick and ailing to create an etheric confluence that would aid in their art. While noliths are far more sophisticated, the basic principle remains unchanged. Wielding them as an extension of their mind, a sage sends them darting through the air to unleash his magics. I believe this sums up almost the entirety of what a sage is, so without further ado, let's start the video. Our story begins in Limsa Lominsa. We overhear a Sharlayan maiden speaking about Limsa Lominsa. It seems to be her first time here. The tomes did not lie to her about its grandeur, but she is finally here. Maybe she should invite her esteemed alumna, Alize, for tea. She'll be the envy of everyone. Alumna just means female school pupil who went to the same school as them, but is no longer there. In this case, it is just because Alize graduated the school. After some time, she finally notices our presence, and is startled to see that we heard every word. When she realizes she has company, she changes her tone into a polite one. "My apologies, sir. I failed to notice you." She bows and tells us her name is Lalah Jinjahl. She is a native of Sharlayan. From our appearance, she assumes that we are an adventurer. We introduce ourselves to her. She swears she remembers hearing our name before, but she can't remember where. Either way, it is a pleasure to meet us. She is here under a mission from the Forum directly, but she's never been to Eorzea before, so instead she studied all she could about it, but there is no substitution to a local's knowledge. The first thing she intended to do was hire an adventurer to help escort her around. The mission she was assigned to was the pursuit and capture of fugitives. It may be dangerous, but we don't look to be a stranger to it. Are we willing to assist her in her mission? We'd be glad to. She is happy to hear it, and is glad to have our company. Now that we've joined the mission, she wants to divulge the details of the mission. But not here. Somewhere else. Somewhere more private. How about outside the city? By Zephyr Gate. We meet her just outside Limsa Lominsa. She apologizes for being overly cautious. It's just that the information is classified, and if the wrong people happen to hear it, she wouldn't hear the end of it from her superiors. But out here, we can speak freely. As mentioned before, she is tracking fugitives from Sharlayan who fled to Eorzea. They are extremely dangerous individuals who have enhanced themselves by some forbidden means. But the enhancement messed with their minds. Whilst they're in this state of mind, one of them committed murder. Afterwards, the individual died to the after effects of the enhancement, but 3 more got away. The leader is a VIII male who has stolen valuable technology. For reference, she brought a soul crystal along with her. When she takes it out of her pocket, it burns her hand. It is resonating a large amount of heat. She has never known a soul crystal to give off this amount of heat before. After some time, the soul crystal cools down. Nobody at the Studium caused it to give off that amount of heat before. Maybe it was reacting to us. The technologies that were stolen are similar to this crystal. This crystal has been loaned to her by the Healing Institute in Sharlayan. She asks us a question. Tell me, in the course of our adventures, have we ever fervently wished to save someone, but failed to do so despite our efforts, and afterwards cursed our own powerlessness? Yes we have. We've had to watch some of our dearest friends slip away. Then there is no doubt that the soul crystal was resonating with that desire within us. She was told that if the crystal reacted to an Eorzean in this manner, then she should give it to them, to impart the knowledge of somnotics. Somnotics is an art studied in Sharlayan that is more commonly known as sage. A trained sage has the ability to both strengthen and heal, but is also capable of causing harm. Not everyone can be a sage. You must be prepared to hold the lives of others in your hands. Are we willing to bear such a burden? If we are, we should swear to use the sage arts for good, and she shall entrust the soul crystal to us. Do we swear to use the sage art for good, and to wield its power to the best of our judgment and ability? We do. She is glad to hear this. We were chosen by the crystal, and she had faith that we'd rise to the occasion. When those around us cry out for support, the crystal will be our ally. It bears the wisdom of the sages past, and their hopes for the future. By listening to their whispers, and following in their footsteps, we will embody their hopes, to save and change countless lives. She will teach us the ways of the sage, as she did study somnotics in the Studium. It's just that she has no affinity for magecraft and preferred steel, but she remembers the lessons and will teach us what she knows. Together with the soul crystal, she will supply us with sage garments. We take the sage crystal and don the traditional attire. Now we can officially begin our sage journey. We are now ready to embark on our training. The sage weapons are known as no-lifts. They trace their roots back to healers of Eld, who use adder stones. Adder stones harbor great spiritual energy. When placed atop a stick, a healer can channel their magics through it. They evolved from that primitive design into no-lifts we see today. They may be more of a sophisticated construction now, but the principle on which they work remains the same. A sage will use the no-lifts as an extension of their own mind to unleash advanced magics. If it sounds complicated, it's because it is. It takes the Studian's most talented multiple years of training to even use them efficiently. But we have one advantage. The crystal chose us. Bearing its knowledge, this allows us to learn this technique more naturally. Even though we're itching to try out our no-lifts, Lalah has just received word from command. The fugitives we are hunting have taken refuge in Idleshire, in the Dravanian hinterlands. We must make our way there at once. We arrive at Idleshire. This seems to be Lalah's first time here too. She is impressed with the goblins' work, but to the task at hand. There is reason to believe that the fugitives have passed through Idleshire, or still remain here. To save time, we split up and look for them separately. She will look towards the south of the town, and we will take to the north. Towards the north of the town, we hear an unknown voice screaming out for aid. Lalah rushes in behind us and asks if we heard the voice too. When we look over the small hill, we can see a man being assaulted by a group of 3 men. One of them is a male Viera, who is wielding no-lifts much like we do. The Viera is mad at the man for ignoring him. He fires towards the man, but he manages to dodge the blast, but their black mage starts casting a fire spell. We run in front of the man to block the blast from hitting him. The Viera notices that we ran in front and gives us a barrier to block the spell. Lalah remarks that that was a sage barrier. His companions tell him that there are too many eyes and ears around. It's best they leave now. The Viera, who is named Loifer, warns us to not get in his way again. They begin channeling a teleport. Lalah tries to stop them, but they are gone before she can do anything. That was the fugitives we are looking for, but why did he help us? We have so many questions, but we cannot have answers. Instead, we must help this man. The man thanks us. Had we not stepped in when we did, who knows what would have happened to him? His name is Faldronet. He is from Sharlayan. Lalah too is from Sharlayan. She wants to know what started his encounter with the fugitives. But nothing in particular happened. He was just minding his own business when they started attacking him. Out of curiosity, she questions what kind of business he was conducting. He tells us that he was healing. He provides healing as a sage. He travels the realm, providing treatment to those who can't afford it. So this guy is a sage too. She asks if he knew who the Viera was. He does not, but he does have an inkling as to why they came here. If they use the sage art for bad intentions, then they may try to go to Saint McCain's Arboretum. What could they want from the Arboretum? After the people left Idleshire, a certain number of plants became forbidden to cultivate in Sharlayan, but they grow freely here. Those plants are dangerous herbs. It could be for this knowledge that Faldronet was attacked. He looks towards us, noticing that we are a sage too, but we are not from Sharlayan. How did we get our soul crystal? Lalah lets him know that the people of Physis Technon gave the crystal to her and gave it to us when it exhibited a strong resonance to our presence. Faldranet says to himself that we were chosen to inherit, but then gets cut off by Lalah, asking if something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. He is just remarking about how lucky he is to have crossed paths with a sage when he's so far away from home. Sharlayan is a reclusive nation. All they should do is observe, not intervene. He too left Sharlayan, just as Louis Swart did, as he didn't agree with that philosophy. He believed that it was his duty to alleviate the suffering in this world. Lalah calls him a noble soul. She commends his resolve. We agree with her sentiment. Now he must return to the road. He thanks us for helping him. May we seek out new knowledge and possibilities for the betterment of mankind. After he is gone, Lalah wants to go to St. McCain's Arboretum. We originally thought they'd be heading for the Great Gubal Library, but Faldranet offered an interesting theory. As for a second theory, she believes that they have enhanced themselves using sage magic. This doesn't help us know who they are or what they want to achieve. But regardless, it is unforgivable for a sage to use his crystal for ill. She will not rest until these criminals have been brought to justice. Anyway, to the Arboretum. It may be a good place for our training too. Again, this is Lalah's first time visiting the Arboretum. She is overwhelmed by its size. This place holds a special meaning to sages. A myriad of medicinal plants have been cultivated within these halls, but after the mass exodus 15 years ago, all the knowledge of this institution has fallen to ruin. To give a bit of detail for those who are unaware, the mass exodus refers to that time the scholars that resided in Adelshire left. There seemed to be no reason as to why they left the lands. Until Endwalker, that is. I gave a spoiler warning at the beginning, but here's another warning. I won't go too much into detail. They found a way to communicate to Hydaelyn under the Anti-Tower by traversing the ethereal sea with the device known as the Aetiascope. She detailed to them the doom of the star. This caused them to reroute everything from Adelshire to Labyrinthos, which resided under Sharlayan. They even set up contact with Hydaelyn again under Labyrinthos, which we used towards the end of Endwalker after fulfilling the promise we made to the Forum. Everything was abandoned, and all their research was brought with them. Very few scholars remained behind, like Matoya did. After Adelshire was abandoned, the Goblin took over Adelshire as their own home. If you want more lore specifically about Adelshire, refer to my Heavensward retelling in chapter 4.2. Continuing from where we left off, Lalah exclaims that there's a certain kind of charm to seeing nature reclaim her domain. Just think of the rare wildlife that resides within. She'd like to spend a day within there, studying them. But this isn't a field trip, it's a mission. We must find the fugitives, or at least find clues that lead us to them. We venture into the Arboretum. She tells us to be wary of the wildlife and tries to teach us of our sage abilities. We cannot find the fugitives, but we do find some clues. A plant was harvested from here. Searching some more, we find clues that lead us to believe that the fugitives are nearby. Pushing ever forward, we run into the fugitives and confront them, demanding that they surrender. They turn around, and Loifer says of all the weapons to bear against us, what's wrong with us using the sage weapons against him? But it does not matter. He warned us once, and he will not warn us again. A battle begins to break out. First, Ansel the monk rushes us, but we make quick of him in a 2 versus 1. He falls back, and Loifer and Mahuad, the black mage, start fighting us. To gain victory, we focus Loifer first. We defeat all the fugitives, and Ansel tells them that they don't have time for this. Loifer remarks that we held our own against their enhancement, but that is enough sport for now. The mission is more important. Ansel teleports them all away. Again, the fugitives escape our grasp. But where Loifer once stood is a satchel. However, it is not safe here. We should leave the Arboretum for now and discuss our findings in a safer environment. Inside the pouch was a plant. It is a herb, but not one Lalah is familiar with. On top of that, she stumbled upon a diary, which lay at the entrance. The contents are magically obfuscated, but she could make out some terms. It is safe to assume that it belonged to a sage. She will work on lifting the enchantment on the diary, but first we should return to the settlement. Back in Adelshire, Lalah tells us that she dispatched a plant to Sharlayan to get them to identify it. When we figure out what it is, we should gain insight as to what the villains want to achieve. She questions if we did any training with the Noliths while she wasn't looking, because we demonstrated control of them with remarkable proficiency. We have a gift for the art. The sage whose memories reside in the crystal must be beaming with pride, but something that she cannot help wonder. The sage's art was created for the betterment of mankind, but why does it have techniques that cause harm? Isn't that counterintuitive? And the fugitives, why did they leave Sharlayan? Was it to do the same as Louis Swart and Faldranet did? There is no way to tell. It will be some time before we hear about the plant, So until then, we must hone our sage skills more. As we train, we must listen to the voices in the soul crystal. If we do, they will provide us with the wisdom to protect those we hold dear. After some time, we are contacted by Lalah. She just received the results for the plant not too long ago, and we should meet her in Idleshire to discuss it. The herb is known as Muscamaloi. It possesses potent aether fortifying properties, and its cultivation was outlawed some years ago. This herb must be why the fugitives came here. They cannot get it from Sharlayan, so they decided to get it from the Arboretum. They must use the herb with the soul crystal to enhance themselves. We may still not know their motives, but we will continue to cause harm until they are brought to justice. Since they were unable to obtain the herb here, they will have to try elsewhere. Luckily for us, her informer told her about an apothecary who deals in herbs. The fugitives will try and seek them out. This person resides in Lost Hope, in central Thanalan. We will head there and stop them. We cannot allow them to misuse the sage's noble art any longer. We shall regroup at the Black Brush Station before we head to Lost Hope. At the Black Brush Station, Lalah is complaining about the heat in Thanalan and how she would kill for a bath right now. But unbeknownst to her, we are hearing every word she is saying. She snaps back to her authoritative persona and tells us that she has replenished her supplies, and if we are ready to head out, we can begin looking for the apothecary at once. She is a Hurrian woman who has a facial tattoo. The fugitives are most likely searching for them too. We must find her before... She stops talking as Lalah notices something. It seems there is a woman over there who fits a description, but something seems wrong. We should head over there and investigate. We run to her aid and she asks us to help her. What seems to be the problem? She was dealing with a customer, but a group of bandits attacked them. She was able to get away, but the customer is still there. Lead us there, and we will help her. She thanks us and takes us to the customer. We move towards the Lost Hope. We see the fugitives, but we also see Faldronet. What is he doing here? We decide we should confront them. We tell them to surrender, lay down their weapons, or else. Loifer responds, or else what? We just want one answer. What are they doing this for? Why forsake everything he had just to obtain power? Why wield this power against good, well-meaning souls? Loifer says, good, well-meaning. Then he raises his voice in anger. You know nothing about us. Nothing. You are just fools who believe everything you've been fed. Then he looks towards us, stating that he regrets saving us. Then questions if we feel it. Do we feel the weight of the sacred duty to strive for the betterment of mankind and stand as a beacon of hope to play with people's lives? Do we feel it, the weight of this sin? Faldronet interrupts his tirade. You would speak of sin. He rises to his feet and continues on. To do nothing when a life must be saved is the greatest sin. Every day unfortunate souls die without reason. It is a sage's duty to fight this injustice by whatever means we may. If you understand this, then it's not too late for him. He could still make something of their lives. Loifer is angered upon hearing this and draws out his no-lifts. We in turn draw ours. Loifer will consider us a complicit if we continue to protect that wretch. The apothecary starts to realize that she knows them, looking towards Ansel and Mahuad. Loifer looks towards an antling and empowers it. Faldronet says that this antling is too close to the settlement. He fears for the civilians inside. They won't be able to handle such an enemy. He looks towards Ansel and Mahuad, saying, as they should know. Suddenly, Ansel bursts into a rage, calling him a bastard. Loifer tells him to not get provoked by him, but it's too late. Ansel and Mahuad are losing control. In the meantime, we should lure this beast elsewhere and tend to it. Lalah will stay behind and control the situation here. We slay the antling and aid Faldronet. We should return to the others. The fugitives won't stay put for long. Lalah informs us that their condition is unchanged. We should press this advantage and apprehend them. But the symptoms they are suffering from is familiar to Lalah. Loifer sheeps his no-lifts. He's going to get them out of here. Ansel says he's fine, but they clearly aren't. They are suffering from the enhancement. It increases their potency, but has massive recoil on the user. There's only so much aether a living being can harbor. When we grow up, it increases. When we get old, it decreases. It is a gradual, gentle process. But complications arise when someone tries to forcibly fortify their aether. A rogue healer was rumored to be doing that with subjects some years ago. He used that procedure on countless souls. It is a forbidden procedure and only known to a select few sages. He only succeeded a few times, but those individuals suffered from debilitating side effects. Even the Forum tried to denounce those rumors as baseless, but the living individuals are in front of us. Loifer turns around, telling us again that we would believe every little thing that we'd hear. What naive fools we are. Lalah is shocked to hear him say that. To think that he is insinuating that the Forum would lie to the populace is insanity. Loifer turns to his companions and asks if they can stand. Before they can leave, the apothecary asks them to wait. It's really you, Ansel and Mahuad. It is her children. She thanks the 12 that they're alive and remarks on how much they've grown. After she has said her piece, they all begin to teleport away. Lalah laments that she had a chance to apprehend these fugitives, but couldn't bring herself to do so. She turns to the apothecary and questions how she knows Mahuad and Ansel. They are the apothecary's adopted children. They were orphaned at a young age. She took them in and raised them. Even though they weren't related by blood, they became as close as any family would. They lived a quiet life until Mahuad fell ill. She grew weaker with each passing day. She had an illness called aetherspurn. It is a rare disease where you are unable to draw aether from food. There is no known cure, just relieving the pain. As they were struggling to look after Mahuad, a beast attacked the settlement. Ansel tried to protect his sister, but was injured. The Chirurgeon said that he would be bedridden for the rest of his life. She ran out of options. She lacked the coin to spare for them, and started to think of ways to spare them from the pain. In that state, a traveler found her, a healer of sorts. He offered to help them, and refused any and all payment. Their condition was dire, and they needed to be put in special care facilities for many years. She was desperate, and accepted the offer. The man left with her children. It was hard for her not knowing what became of them. She wondered if she made the right choice, but she clung on to hope that one day they would be reunited, and seeing them today showed her that they were able to reunite. She is so happy that she doesn't have the words to describe it. Lalah questions if she knew the healer's name. He was called Guildivain, a healer from Charlayan. Lalah is surprised to hear this name. Faldronet chimes in, saying, "What a truly touching tale. Where there is life, there is hope. Wouldn't we agree? But if he is no longer needed here, he shall begin making his rounds." Faldronet takes his leave. The danger has passed for now, but Lalah asks the Immortal Flames to keep an eye on the area just in case. She questions if the apothecary has met with Faldronet before, and she has. He was introduced to her by an acquaintance of hers, and is now a regular who heals those in need when he comes. Who is this acquaintance? It is a merchant in Aelport. Faldronet buys alchemical ingredients from him. Out of curiosity, what did Faldronet buy this time? He bought Muscamaloi. It is the same herb we found in the Arboretum. The apothecary must return to her work and bids us farewell. Lalah seems to be thinking about something. She wants to return to Idleshire for now, to recollect her thoughts. Lalah is unsure of what is the truth. It seems that it wasn't Loifer who sought after Muscamaloi, but Faldronet. Or rather, the fugitives are hunting Faldronet. They bear a grudge against him. If the rumors were true, that a Charlayan was committing such atrocities, then... But the Forum denied these rumors. Surely they wouldn't lie. Her thoughts are cluttered, and she doesn't know what to believe. She needs a moment to rein them in. She wants to review the situation as it stands. We have been assuming that Loifer and the others had come to Eorzea to enhance themselves further in pursuit of forbidden power. To do so, they procured Muscamaloi, which can be used in tandem with the Soul Crystal. But we know that they didn't want the herb, but they were after the man who wanted it, Faldronet. Their herb was their only lead, and they tried to set up an ambush in the Arboretum. When they didn't find him there, they instead tried to intercept him at Lost Hope. That is her theory at this point. She believes that Loifer and his companions are victims looking for revenge. What do we think of this? We agree with her theory. Lalah starts to mention another issue. After she shared the recent events to command, they reopened the investigation and confirmed that there is some truth to them after all. The villain concealed his operations and eluded the authorities for years. We do not know his identity, but we do have a suspect. A sage who disappeared from Charlayan shortly after the fugitives first appeared. A sage who is named Guildivain. Yes, the very same Guildivain who took Ansel and Mahuad into his care. If they were victims of his crimes, then they have reason to chase him. This isn't confirmed, but it backs up our theories. We shall proceed as if it were the truth. We must have this truth from Faldronet. According to the apothecary, there was a merchant in Aleport who introduced them. If we find this merchant, we could find Faldronet. We must go to Vilbrand. We meet Lalah in Aleport. This is her first time coming to this busy trading hub, but we must focus. We have work to do. We have to find this merchant before Faldronet does. The man deals in Thavnarian wares. Let's begin by... She is interrupted by a yellow jacket sentry looking for a healer. There are badly injured people outside. It seems as if they were just attacked. They want us to go and tend to them. It is the sage's duty to do so. We shall tend to them. He tells us to be wary. The person who did this could still be lingering nearby. We rush just outside of Aleport and we spot an unknown man on the floor. And Loifer. We first tend to the unknown man's wounds. But what happened here? It seems like we are too late to help the merchant. He is gone. But Loifer is still alive. We can save him. Lalah starts to second guess that decision. Our earlier speculation is just that, a speculation. We cannot know for certain what they want to accomplish. But what we do know is that they took a life in Charlayan. They are murderers. She doesn't want to pass judgment on them, but they took her from her. They killed her mother. She isn't strong enough to keep her feelings out of it. We completely understand her feelings, but we need to help Loifer. We need answers, and a dead man cannot answer our questions. She agrees with us. The truth is needed to have justice for her mother and all the others who have suffered. Forgive her indecision, and render our aid to him. We must save his life. We use a diagnosis to heal him. Loifer slowly starts to get up. Lalah asks if he's alright. He ignores her question and asks his own question instead. Where is Mahuad and Ansel? But we didn't see them. There was only the merchant and him lying on the floor. The merchant was gone, but we could save him. Upon hearing this, he looks towards the ground in dismay. We need to know what happened. Who attacked him? He snaps back, Guildivain, who else? That bastard is still out there because of you. And now... So it is just as we assumed. Faldronet is Guildivain. He asks if we are finally ready to accept the truth. That man may be able to change his face and name, but there's no changing the monster he truly is. He masquerades as a kind-hearted healer, but he preys upon the vulnerable for his vile experiments. They were his test subjects. Everything he just said confirms our theories. Lalah is sorry for what we did. If we had known, then maybe she would have... He interrupts her, telling her to save her apology. It wouldn't bring Ansel and Mahuad back. They confronted Guildivain, and they guarded him from his attack. He must have taken them. Loifer clenches his fist in frustration. He couldn't do anything. For all the power and sacrifices he made, he still couldn't do a damn thing. He begins to explain his past. He was born with a lung disease. As he grew, it worsened. He didn't have long left to live, but Guildivain appeared before him and his master. By using the wisdom of Charlayan, he could cure him. Loifer did not know how to react to this news, but his master was overjoyed. When he saw that joy, for the first time he wanted to live, for him and for his master. But they were tricked. Under the guise of treatment, Guildivain experimented on him and did a dangerous procedure to fortify his aether. So many of them were experimented on. Their numbers were many, but in the end, they all disappeared until only a few remained. Those who had survived had been cured of their ailments and given unnatural powers. They were twice as strong as any man and could cast magics without any effort, but still he was no match for Guildivain. He couldn't even protect Ansel and Mahuad. If this is the reward for all the suffering and sacrifice, he'd be better off dead. After hearing his story, we have to say something to him. The suffering he has been through is great, but to say what he said is unacceptable. We say, whatever life you have is still a life. You owe it to the others to make the most out of it. Upon hearing this, Loifer's expression changes. Our words hit his heart directly. His bravado is shattered. The walls he has been trying to build up are broken down. He looks towards the floor and asks us, help me, please. Tears begin to fall off of his nose. He wants to save them, but he can't do it alone. He needs help. So please. We look towards each other and nod in agreement. We will help Loifer. If Guildivain went through the trouble of taking Mahuad and Ansel, then it means that he wants to experiment on them again. We cannot let that happen. We must save them. Lalah understands his impatience, but we need to think for a second. Even with the three of them and their enhanced aether, they couldn't take on Guildivain. We cannot expect to fare any better. It is safe to assume that he himself is enhanced too. If we want to confront him, we need a plan. We are in agreement with her. Loifa doesn't agree, but will do as we say. For now, we should return to Idleshire. Lalah has confirmation from command that Guildivain did in fact use Muscamaloi in his procedures. They found traces of the herb in his laboratory. On top of that, there was never any traces of a healer named Faldronet, so that was definitely a false identity. Loifa says that in hindsight, they should have explained everything to us, but they didn't know who they could trust. She responds back saying that even if they attempted to convince her, she wouldn't have listened. She saw what she wanted to see and believed what she needed to believe. Even when the evidence was starting to mount in their favor, she had to think about whether or not to save him. Her mother would have been ashamed to see what she did. She took up the shield to protect all life, just as she did until her dying breath. He asks if she was a warrior like her. She responds that she was a healer. The soul crystal they took, it was hers. He is surprised to hear this. Then, the woman on that day, was her mother? He regains his composure and starts to tell her what happened on that day. Guildivain had already left Sharlayan. They were trying to escape when a comrade of theirs collapsed in pain. Someone happened to see them, a sage from Physis Technon. She rushed to their aid without hesitating, but their comrade flew into a frenzy. They couldn't stop his rampage. They tried all they could to save her, but they couldn't. With the last of her strength, she placed the crystal into his hand. He asked for forgiveness, but there is naught to forgive. Her mother has always done what she thought was right. If she had any regrets, it may be that she couldn't have helped them sooner. As for the crystal, well, she gave it to him. She must have seen something in him. Lalah hopes that he will carry on her legacy and fight for the future of all lives. He repeats those words. It seems like they have given him something to think on. In the meantime, she will continue to look for Guildivain and contact us when she has found anything. Fighting for the future of all lives. Is this what drives us to do what we do? After being contacted by Lalah to return to Idleshire, she is pleased to announce that after receiving her latest report, her superiors have decided to spare no resources in the search for Guildivain. With their assistance, it is only a matter of time before we find our man. Whilst we wait for developments, she wants us to hone our skills. Loifa cannot sit idly anymore and will join us. We don't mind. In fact, it may be beneficial to our growth to see another sage at work. We are going to help the locals of the Dravanian hinterlands. A lot of treasure hunters reside here, and it is a dangerous line of work. If we speak to Midnight Dew, she will direct us to individuals who may need assistance. We report to Midnight Dew, along with Loifa. We tell her that we want to help them in any way we can. She tells us that a few hunters have yet to return. She was about to go look for them, but maybe we can go look instead. We agree to do so. She thanks us and hopes that her friends are okay. They are less like friends and more like family. Everyone here is family. Loifa agrees with her sentiment. She again thanks us and makes her leave. Before we set off, Loifa talks to us. By receiving the procedure from Guildivain, it gave him the ability to wield sage magic, the power to heal and harm. He will repay this gift by doing just that. He will kill Guildivain, and his victims will finally have closure. But these are thoughts for another day. Let us be off and find these hunters. We find one of these treasure hunters, wounded in the answering quarter. He is being attacked by a fiend. We assist Loifa in taking it down. We heal the treasure hunter's wounds. She thanks us. She was certain she could handle one of these fiends, but she was wrong. We noticed that too. These fiends are stronger than usual. I wonder if that's Guildivain's doing. The treasure hunter is in our debt, and she will sing our praises. She then takes her leave. Loifa is glad that we could help her, spare her family the sorrow. But we should continue on to find the rest of them. Towards the southeast, we find another wounded treasure hunter being attacked by fiends. Again, we fend them off with the help of Loifa. The wound is too terrible for us to deal with. This is no time for training, and Loifa heals him instead. He asks if the treasure hunter is alright. He seems confused as to how he is even alive right now. He thought for sure he is going to die. He looks towards Loifa and asks if it was him who saved him. He replies that it was. He was in a bad shape And the hunter interrupts him. He is wearing such a gracious smile. "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much." Loifer is taken aback by his beaming gratitude. The hunter continues on. He has a wife, and she is with child, their firstborn. He has been trying to earn as much coin as he can to provide for his family, but in his haste, he started to get reckless. He took jobs that were beyond his capabilities, but thanks to Loifer, he is still alive, and his family still has time. This has opened his eyes. No more stupid risks. He won't squander the future he's given to him. He thanks him again and asks that the 12 bless him. After he leaves, Loifer looks to the ground, stating that their man has a lot to live for. When he was suffering from his lung disease, he used to dream of a future he knew he'd never see. He would overcome his illness and protect the forest as a wood warder. It is the duty of VIII men. He wanted to repay his people for not giving up on him. He allowed this hope to blossom when he went with Guildivain, but it died once he arrived in his laboratory. It died alongside those who were sacrificed in the pursuit of his twisted ambition for the betterment of mankind. Guildivain took everything from him. Ever since that moment, he's been hell-bent on getting revenge. Aside from that, he had no other reason to be a sage. But since meeting us and Lalah, he is beginning to understand why the soul crystal was given to him. The hope that all might live to know a better tomorrow. There is warmth and comfort in that, and a purpose. He is resolved. He won't fall again. Not when his family needs him. He will protect them. It will be for that purpose, and that purpose alone. He will use this power. He swears this upon the crystal. We will soon confront Guildivain. We have to trust each other with our lives. Are we willing to trust ours to him? Yes, we are. And we will protect him too. He chuckles ever so slightly. He is counting on us to do just that. So see to it that we keep it up. That is enough training for today. We should return to Idleshire. Hopefully Lalah's comrades have made some progress. We return to Lalah. She has news to share on the hunt for Guildivain. He has been located. They spotted unusual etheric activity in a cave located in the Dravanian forelands. This is where he has made his base, and that he holds Ansel and Mahuad within. Those two are alive, but anything more than that cannot be confirmed. We also learned some information about the man himself, from an acquaintance of his. After graduating from the studium, he completed further studies in various fields, specifically somnotics. For all of his skill and knowledge, he was made a professor of the faculty. It was there where he met his wife, but one day she fell gravely ill. Healers of all kinds tried to treat her, but her condition worsened rapidly, and she passed away a week later. After that happened, Guildivain was not the same man ever again. Loifer states that whatever tragedy he has known does not matter. He does not show any sympathy for him, nor would we if we saw the madness in his eyes, the malice in his voice. It wasn't for his wife that he mourned. It was for the loss of a valuable resource. That is all people are to him. Lalah agrees. Whatever reason he had, it does not mean that he can continue his experiments, but we cannot go straight into the cave yet. He is a master of the sage art, and it makes him a dangerous opponent. We must be prepared. Lalah has been working on a countermeasure, but it will take some time to complete. In the meantime, she asks for our patience and our faith. As much as she wants to save Ansel and Mahuad, it would be meaningless if we lost anyone along the way. So please, believe her. We shall do as she asks. When she is ready, we will defeat Guildivain and save Ansel and Mahuad. Lalah apologizes for the wait. The countermeasure is ready. She will hold on to it until the moment is at hand. We must away for Guildivain's lair at once. Loifer questions if there has been any further word of Mahuad and Ansel's condition, but there is not, only that they are still alive, and if we work together, it will remain that way. He thanks them. They are important to him. They are his family. Our destination lies to the northeast of the Dravanian forelands, where the Som Owl foothills meet the 100 Throws. The cave entrance is to the west of the springs. We meet Lalah outside of his lair. Our number one concern is Mahuad and Ansel's safety. The countermeasure she has created is a set of garments imbued with a special enchantment to shield us from Guildivain's influence. When worse comes to worse, it will keep us safe and their hopes alive. They are delicate, but they will last this one battle. We are handed the outfit to put on. We are now ready to face Guildivain and save our comrades. All three of us enter the cave. We spot Guildivain in the center of the cave, along with Mahuad and Ansel. A dark red aether is protruding out of them. They are in pain and are confused. Loifa snaps at him. What has he done to them? Guildivain replies back, "My, such anger, when you should be feeling joy for your friends. They have had the opportunity to contribute to mankind's future. Our flesh is frail, and when we die, our knowledge, skill, and experiences are forever lost. It is an unacceptable waste. A solution to this problem will not arise without suitable sacrifice. It is unavoidable. But Loifa is an invaluable living specimen, and he gives his thanks for being allowed to study him further." Lalah interjects, "How many lives has been lost and torn apart by his twisted whims?" Guildivain starts clapping. She plays the part of a moralist well. Such a pity. He had hoped that she'd appreciate his vision, seeing as she is a fellow Sharlayan, but sadly, she is as short-sighted as the rest. It does not matter. We can serve a better purpose, a benchmark for his progress. It is time for a test of strength. He orders Mahuad and Ansel to kill us. Loifa tells them to hold on. We'll save them. Lalah states that it will be possible to break Guildivain's control. We just need an opening to do so. She tells him to never call her a fellow Sharlayan again. It sickens her to think that you are a compatriot. We all draw out our weapons. Guildivain senses the animosity in the air and decides that it's time for him to disappear. He bows before teleporting away. A battle starts. At first he sends Ansel at us. Their mind is clouded, so we have no choice but to subdue them. He is attacking with reckless abandon. He is breaking his body just to attack us. After some time, Ansel is sent back, and we face Mahuad. We continue our battle, healing our allies' wounds and damaging our foes. Eventually Guildivain sends both of them at us, but they are both subdued. They lay on the floor. Loifa calls out to them. Their red aether still persists. He wants them to forgive him. He didn't want to hurt them. He starts healing their wounds. Guildivain notices that he possesses a heightened affinity for the sage art. Then he starts laughing, to think that he would be blessed with such fine specimens for his research. What else can he do? He channels a ball of lightning and sends it towards Loifa and the others, but just before the blast hits, a sage barrier activates around him. Loifa looks around all confused. It wasn't just any sage barrier. It was our sage barrier. He can't die on us. He has a promise to keep. He smiles at us and agrees. Then he looks towards Guildivain. He won't fall. Not again. Through all the suffering and sacrifice, I am still here. I am still alive. And so long as I live, I refuse to let anyone else die on me. What say you, Mahuad and Ansel? They have managed to regain control and have worked up the strength to stand on their own 2 feet. They agree with him. Wherever he goes, they will follow. Lalah believes in him and in us. We all draw our weapons towards Guildivain. He wanted to see what else we can do, right? Then come and find out. Guildivain bursts out laughing. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Do not hold back, my dear subjects, for neither shall I. For the betterment of mankind, let us transcend the limits of flesh together. He injects himself with a vial, which we can only assume is filled with a Muscamaloi compound. It alters his form into a gigantic knight, whose blades are melded against his feet and hands. A battle begins against Guildivain of the Tainted Edge. Throughout the fight, Guildivain keeps mentioning how flesh is weak, and we should free ourselves from its confines. Midway through the battle, he takes control of our friends. Luckily, Loifa and us remove the control, as we have a blessing that repels it. Ours is from the garment that was provided by Lalah, and Loifa is provided from within himself. We destroy the no-lifts that are controlling our friends, and continue our battle. After we defeat them, Guildivain mentions something interesting. Your successor is proving himself quite the nuisance, Hatia. So the original owner of our soul crystal is a woman named Hatia. We will go into more detail on this later. After some time we defeat Guildivain. Even in his enhanced state, he is no match for us. Guildivain's form dissipates into aether, leaving behind his original form. We walk up to him and clasp him in irons. We bring him outside. Loifa is looking at him, thinking about what to do next. Ansel announces, "What are they waiting for? Let's kill him and be done with this." But Mahuad stops him. It should be Loifa's decision. After all this time, Loifa has been learning and growing as a person, from helping the treasure hunter earlier, who had his whole life ahead of him, to learning that he truly has a family in Ansel and Mahuad. The old Läufer might have wanted him dead on the spot, but the new one? We doubt it. After some thinking, he says, "This power that I have, born of untold sacrifice." He swore that he would only use it to protect life, not take it. Guildivain will face justice back in his homeland, where he committed his heinous crimes. He turns to answer Mahuad. He apologizes to them for not allowing their vengeance to be quelled, but they both shake their heads. He then turns to Lalah to hand the soul crystal to her. It was originally her mother's, and it does rightfully belong to her. She denies it, stating that it is already where it belongs. Through his deeds, he brings honor to her mother's memory. She will strive to do the same. With Läufer's blessing, she will take Guildivain into custody. He will be transported back to Charlene to be tried by the Forum. She has some necessary arrangements to tend to. They should return to Idleshire and have a well-deserved rest. Läufer and the others leave. Lalah looks towards Guildivain. This is a mercy more than he deserves, but he will answer for his crimes. Every last one. We stay behind to speak to Lalah. When she set out on this journey, she had only one thing on her mind: to retrieve her mother's soul crystal. She wanted to keep it as a memento to remember her by, but now she realizes that there is no better way to remember her than by the deeds in her life, and she will honor to that legacy by rising to the defense of those in need. She tells us to return to Idleshire too. We deserve a good rest. We return back to Idleshire and speak to Läufer and the others. He noticed that we didn't arrive when they did. He guesses that we are talking to our superiors, preparing to send them back to Charlene, but clearly that is false. Lalah arrives and tells them that instead she told command that they managed to arrest Guildivain and return him to Charlene alive, but the fugitives escaped. Despite her best efforts, she could not pick up a trail again. Läufer is surprised to see that she is willing to lie to the Forum. She doesn't completely mistrust the Forum, but she does have reason to believe that they knew more about Guildivain than they let on. Maybe they were hoping for a solution that didn't bring the details of his experimentations to light, but now it will all be out in the open, and their innocence is as clear as day. Not even her superiors will pursue them. They are free to begin anew, which they deserve after all they have suffered. Läufer smiles. Gratitude is beaming off of his face. It is reminiscent of the treasure hunter from before. She is surprisingly reasonable for a mole-headed Charlayan. Lalah snaps back. "I beg your pardon." A simple thank you would have sufficed. She then smiles back at him. All of us begin to laugh at this exchange. Läufer looks towards us and says that he never asked for these powers, but fate has made them his, and he will use them as they were intended, to fight for the future of all lives. He will try to find a cure for the procedure's side effects. When he is successful in doing so, he will allow his friends to return home, knowing that they won't lose control again. Mahuad thanks us for coming to their aid. Ansel chimes in. If it wasn't for us, they would have been dead, or worse. They had given up on themselves and lived for only revenge, but now we are providing them with a second chance, and they won't waste it. They will aid Läufer in his research. He needs the cure as much as they do. For all the bravado he displays, he doesn't like to be alone. Läufer is embarrassed to hear Mahuad say that. Ansel continues on, saying that he thought VIII men preferred solitude, but not their Läufer. Deep down he's a lonely little boy. Lalah remarks that they truly are a family. She turns to us, and the rest of them are lost in their own personal conversation. As a little girl, she regarded the sages with awe. In the tales they were all stern, nigh mythical figures, untouchable in their virtues and ideals. But the more she thinks about it, these legends must not be that different from us. They must have been ordinary people, who harbored a great love for their friends and families. Then that love extended to all life. Now more than ever does she see this love in her dear departed mother. Even though she has much to learn, she will endeavor to do her proud. She thanks us. She couldn't have learned any of these lessons or accomplished this mission without us. As our work is done, our time together is over, but she will stay in Eorzea for a while longer. She hopes that we will see each other and hear of our tales. And that ends the Sage Job Quest storyline. After finishing a story, I would usually start my conclusion, but there's actually something quite interesting that unlocks as you progress the Sage's story. For every main quest you complete, you unlock entries of the Diary of a Sage. The words here flesh out the story more and answer some unanswered questions and give us more backstory between all of the main characters. Entry 1. A young child was brought in today, so very young to be suffering so. But if anyone can save her, 'tis we sages of Physis Technon, and save her we will. Entry 2. Though it took many days and repeated treatments, we have managed to stabilize our most recent patient. We adapted the Eucrasia spell as my clever husband proposed, and it worked wonders. His brilliance truly belies his youth. Despite being 50 years my junior, he has already achieved so much. Entry 3. The child has taken a turn for the worst. Her corporeal aether wanes at an alarming rate. She cannot keep food down, having vomited all she has been given. Though we are able to keep her with us, it is naught but a stopgap measure. Entry 4. I reviewed the past cases and all existing literature, but found no effective treatment. Yet there must be something we can do, something that no one has yet thought to try. Entry 5. Muscamaloi may be the answer. We VIII have used this medicinal herb since ancient times. Though potentially poisonous, through refinement, we should be able to suppress the adverse effects. Entry 6. The Muscamaloi has arrived. As expected, it is highly effective in strengthening one's aether, but so too does it poison. We must find a way to separate its beneficial constituents, else it cannot be administered for any extended period. Entry 7. We administered a diluted extract of Muscamaloi after the patient fell unconscious. Though she awakened a few hours later, she was extremely agitated, and it took several people to subdue her. Entry 8. We can no longer dismiss the inherent risks in the treatment. We must submit a report to the Studium on the dangers of Muscamaloi, as someone else repeats our mistake. Entry 9. The pain has returned, worse than before. This disease eats away at me, and I fear I do not have much time left. Yet there is still so much to do, so very much. Entry 10. To my shame, I collapsed while treating the child. I do not recall ever seeing my husband so distressed. Touched though I am, I'd rather that he didn't fuss over me. He knows my prognosis. Entry 11. As sages, it is our duty to fight for the future of all lives. Soon, I will no longer be able to fight this fight, but it is my hope that someone will carry on in my stead. To that end, I, Hatia, will pour myself into this soul crystal. Entry 12. My love, in case this is my last chance, I want you to know that I am glad I met you. You made me the happiest woman, and even should I be reborn, the rest of the pages are torn. At this point, the rest of the entries have a different handwriting to show that the diary's owner was changed. As to why, we'll talk about it once we finish all the entries. Entry in another's handwriting. 1. Gone, 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 to dust and dirt. A future cut short for no reason but that her body failed. But the child lives. She may still serve a purpose. Entry in another's handwriting. 2. I have acquired a subject with a tolerance for Muscamaloi, a VIII who has taken the herb from childhood. Should I finally put the cavalcade of failures behind me and succeed, it will be a great step forward for all of mankind. Entry in another's handwriting. 3. That Jinjahl woman continues to sniff around, too curious by half. I shall have to find a more private place to continue my work, and if she persists, well, it will be her own head. Entry in another's handwriting. 4. Who should I meet today but an adventurer who has your soul crystal? I would be lying if I were to say I wasn't disappointed that you chose a vagabond over me, but no matter. I will continue my work, and I pray, my love, that one day you will forgive the man I had to become. So to sum up these diaries, in the beginning, we read accounts from a woman known as Hatia. She is a sage, and a child is brought in, who is unable to consume aether from food. From the apothecary we met in Lost Hope, we know that child is Mahuad. She had this illness and was taken away by Guildivain. We can see that she did arrive there with full intention of treating her illness properly, but it wasn't easy. the people were struggling. By entry 5, we see that she was the one who thought about using Muscamaloi as an enhancer for Mahuad, but ended up deciding against it as the damage it does outweighs the good. By entry 9, we see that Hatia is suffering from pain. We know Guildivain's beloved fell ill from a disease that ravaged her and had her dead in under a week. We can see that this is the beginning of this disease. By entry 11, she regrets dying early. There is so much more she wants to do, but is unable, so instead she pours her everything into her soul crystal. By entry 12, she is dead. After entry 12, the handwriting in the diary changes, seeing as we found the diary in the Arboretum, where Guildivain was harvesting Muscamaloi. It's safe to assume that he was writing in it. At first he laments over his wife's death, but then he looks towards the child, who is Mahuad. This is when he started to experiment with the Muscamaloi on her. The second entry speaks of him meeting Loifer. As a Vieira, he had grown up using Muscamaloi as a herb in his medicine, so he had a resistance to it. So again, he found another test subject. In the third entry, he speaks of Lalah's mother, so she was close to saving them, which would have saved her own life. But Guildivain managed to keep her away for so long, and in the final entry, it mentions us. He confirms that we are in fact holding Hatia's soul crystal, but on top of that reveal, we see small hints of regret for what he's done. He asked for his wife forgiveness for what he's become. If that isn't regret, I don't know what it is. We may pity the situation that befell of him, but he didn't need to do what he did. Instead, he could have just grieved like a normal person, instead of going insane and gathering human test subjects, all in the betterment of mankind, just to escape the frailty of the flesh. If you're interested, you can ask Lalah about the diary once you have finished the story, if you want to hear her opinion about it. She tells us that the diary did indeed belong to Guildivain's wife, but after some time, he took over the diary, which is conveyed by the change in handwriting. She isn't sure how to word her opinion, but she is glad that we were the ones who inherited Hatia's legacy. In conclusion, I think this is quite a good story. I'm not sure which one I like more when compared to Reaper. They are both good in their own way. I think Reaper may be slightly higher, just because I love hearing about Garlemald. That's just my opinion. The story was laid out quite fantastically. At first you believe that Loifer and the others are evil, and there's no way around it. Then you end up caring for Loifer and the others. We know that Loifer started off as a bitter man, whose sole purpose was vengeance, but eventually it turned into compassion for mankind. He was given the soul crystal by Lalah's mother, and now has to carry her legacy forward. This changed his outlook on life and the people around him, turning him into the man we saw today. As for Ansel and Mahuad, they were prepared to die, but thanks to us, they now have a reason to live again. They are also thankful that because of us, they were able to see their mother again. Valdrenet seemed like a noble soul who was really following in Louisoix's footsteps, but underneath that persona was an evil man who experimented on countless patients just to find a way to escape the flesh after seeing how frail it was when he saw his wife die. Compared to the Reaper quest, we don't really learn too much about Sharlayan, just that the Forum are prone to lying to the people whenever the narrative isn't positive and it doesn't fit how they want to be perceived by the public. If it came out that a Sharlayan sage was doing experiments on children, then the perception on the sages in Sharlayan would be tarnished. So instead, they dismissed the case and claimed the report to be nothing but rumors. Speaking to Lalah reveals she met with her alumna, Alize, who told her all about our exploits. She didn't realize that she had such a storied hero assisting her in her first mission. Guildivain has been sent back to Sharlayan, where he will be tried by the Forum. For now, she will stay in Eorzea to broaden her horizons, to eventually train to be a healer like her mother was. When she sets out on that path, she hopes she can ask us for advice. As for Loifer and the others, they seek to cure the procedure's side effects. We can run into them at the Hard Place, a local restaurant. Loifer is down after a small amount of work, but Mahuad soldiers on as if it were nothing. Ansel loses focus and has to be restrained by the proprietor, but she is happy to see that they are just like any other group of young folk. If there's one thing we should take away from the story, it is that we now have a new reason to do what we do, to fight for the future of all lives. for the betterment of mankind, for a brighter tomorrow. With that, we have covered the 2 new jobs that launched with Endwalker. The next project I will be working on is the role quests in Endwalker, and we'll be starting with the tank role quest. If you have made it this far through the video, just know that you are acknowledged and appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, then give it a thumbs down. Consider subscribing if you're interested in more content like this. Follow my Twitter to know when a video goes live, or if you want to interact with me outside of YouTube. I'll see you all in the next video. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal.